Analyst John Murphy raised his rating to a buy from neutral. Price target 220 implies a more than 50% upside from yesterday's close. Morgan Stanley's Adam Jonas also relatively bullish with an overweight rating. Still other analysts not ready to ride with Tesla. Bernstein's Tony Sacconaghi reiterated his underperform rating and remains skeptical about the company's shift toward autonomy and robotaxi. And the analyst at UBS, remaining on the sidelines, reiterating his neutral rating, lowered his price target on Tesla, saying Tesla took the ultimate bear case off the table as there is a new lower-cost product coming. Joining us now to talk about Tesla and Musk, CNBC contributor Tim Higgins, reporter with the Wall Street Journal, the man who literally wrote the book on Musk and Tesla. It is called Power Play. Welcome, Tim. How do you see, it seems like Musk sort of steadied the ship a little bit in his conference call. Do you agree?
Yeah, it was a classic performance by Elon Musk. Showed up to play, if you will, kind of giving relief to those supporters out there that he's still in charge, still looking to the future, still has his hand on the wheel. Of course, as some of these analysts point out, there's still concerns about the core business, still concerns about where things are going. But if you are a true believer, if you are a fan of Tesla, if you are a fan of Elon Musk's vision for the future, there was a lot to be excited about.
What if he doesn't reach agreement over his big fat pay package with Tesla and he walks away? How much does that hurt Tesla?
Absolutely. And that was one of the questions top of mind for people yesterday. And he was asked about that. On one hand, he says, hey, listen, Tesla is on a path to creating driverless cars with or without him. The momentum is there. It might not happen as quickly without him, but he thinks it's going that direction. The bigger question, and the question that super fans have, is what can Tesla become beyond that? And he has laid a future that would have human robots called Optimus and other these kind of the future, the exciting future that he predicts. And he's saying without him, he's not so sure that Tesla can do that. And so really the last minute push, the last time he's really going to be able to talk to shareholders before they get a chance to reapprove his package that was struck down by a Delaware judge earlier this year, that mega huge financial package, essentially lobbying for that. And also a little bit of a suggestion that if Tesla is making a lot of free cash flow, that maybe there could be a buyback in the future as well. The goal of getting to 25% control of the company, he stated, is what he wants if he's going to stay to do the robots and the AI that he envisions.
Tim, it's interesting because the language that gets used around fans of Tesla is, and you just said, believers, right? There is this brand of Elon Musk, a cult of Elon Musk. I'm just curious, when we saw the report come out yesterday, there was this real disconnect between what was being reported and what the stock was doing. And then Elon Musk gets on and he lays out his vision for the future. But as Phil just pointed out, and Tony Sacconaghi pointed out, okay, he says there's lower priced models coming. What is it? Where's the specifics in that? Does it really matter what he says, where the specifics are, as long as he's there and guiding the ship?
Yeah, you bring up this interesting question. In a lot of ways, these calls seem to rely a lot about his tone and the fact that if he sounds happy or sad. Not to be reductionist here, but if he's not optimistic about the future, in the past we've seen shareholders get nervous. He came sounding optimistic, and I think we're seeing that in the results today.
But do all those investors then, are they just relying on the mercurial nature of Elon Musk?
For some, absolutely. One of the things, though, I think is helping today is the suggestion that this is just not robot taxis in a future that maybe is years away, that is, as some experts predict, that there is some pull forward of some sort of product that can continue to fund the interim before the next thing, right? This idea of a lower price vehicle. The details are scant. Is it really just a tweak to the Model Y? Is it a new product altogether? We don't know. And that's some of the challenge of being an investor in Tesla, is that this is really kind of a muddled kind of interim vision that has been laid out.